I have a short testimony I'd like to share with you before I make my appeal. A few years back, as I was working as a call porter, and I try to continue to work knocking on doors and going out into the streets, because it's just not enough to do this thing in the pulpit. There's so many people that need this message. Jesus Christ would never confine his work to a pulpit. I remember as I was going out knocking on doors, I realized after a time that when I met somebody and they gave me a good cursing out, I was going to have a good day that day. And boy, I knocked on the door, and this brother stringed together some curse words. After he was finished with me, I said, Lord, I'm going to be blessed today. And I continued to knock on doors, and I wasn't selling any books, but my agenda was always to tell people about the love of Jesus Christ and the nearness of his second coming and the necessity of being prepared. And so I just continued on my mission. And then I remember I came to one door, and I knocked on the door, and an elderly man came to the door, and he said, "Are you a Catholic?" And I said to him, well, I attended St. Dominic's School. That was an academy in the area. And he laughed and I laughed. And he said, well, I'm a good Catholic and I'm going to give you a donation. I never told this man what my name was and what my purpose was for being at his door. But he said he's going to give me a donation. He runs back inside, and I'm just standing there on his doorstep chuckling. And he comes back out, and he has his wallet, and he begins to thumb through his wallet. And he says, are you in school studying to be a priest or a pastor? Is it a priest? No, you're studying to be a pastor. Then he says, you know something? You remind me of my pastor. And I go to prayer meetings at my church every Wednesday. I mean, this guy was going off in a tangent. And I'm just standing there laughing. And he says, you know, and as he goes through all of this, he just grabs it, goes right in his wallet and says, you know something? Take all the money. And he says, I'm going to see you on television. And I said, I'll see you in heaven. Little did I know, years later, somebody would ask me to be on television. Brethren, you think people are not seeking the face of the Lord? You think that God doesn't have his 10,000 that are not within these ranks at this time? Don't deceive yourself. And as I walked from that man's door, I was excited because now I've met my quota for the day. And so now I can really just enjoy telling everybody about Jesus. And it was a Friday, and so I had a limited amount of time because the sun was getting ready to set. And I remember I got to this final door. I said, I'm going to knock on this door, and after this, I'm going home. I need to make sure that all things are in order for the Sabbath. And so I knocked on the door, and nobody came to the door. I went from the doorstep, walked down the driveway, and then all of a sudden, I heard a voice, yes, and I turned around, and it was a middle-aged Caucasian woman. This is a very nice neighborhood I was in. So I went back, and I went to the door, and I began to canvass her on an encyclopedia of health. And I went through this, and I was telling her about all the benefits, etc., etc. And she says, oh, I'm not interested. And I said, fine, and I began to tell her about Jesus. And Jesus loves us, and Jesus is getting ready to come back. Whatever the Spirit of God impressed upon my heart, that is what I shared with her. And then I said, God bless you, and you have a wonderful evening. And then I turned to walk down her driveway, and I started down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden, this woman screamed out to me, hey! So I kind of turned around, and she said, do you want to talk to me? I was pretty surprised that she spoke to me with that tone, and I said, yes, I do. And she sat down on her doorstep, and she patted the doorstep. She said, come here and sit down next to me. So I turned back up the driveway, and I went and I sat down next to her, opened my bag up once again. I took out my encyclopedia of health, and I began to canvass her on the book again. She said, no, I don't want to hear about that. So I'm wondering what this woman wants to hear about. She says, what I want to know is, why are you so young and you believe in Jesus? And I said, oh, you want a Bible study? I pulled my Bible out, and I began to go through various scriptures and shared with her the love of God and what the Lord was doing for me in my life, and why I was excited about the Lord. And then this woman said to me something that I will never forget. She looked at me with the most curious look in her eye, and she said, are you Jesus? Now, of course, I thought this lady was joking. So I said, no, ma'am, I'm not Jesus. I'm not Jesus. And I start going again. She says, are you Jesus? Now, this woman is not insane. This happens to be a very nice community that I'm in. And I'm saying, no, I'm not Jesus. She said, tell me the truth. Are you Jesus? And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not Jesus. And then she looked back. She said, I can't believe it. I never knew that Jesus was black. And then I got her. I said, listen, ma'am, I'm not Jesus. And then she said to me, you must be Jesus. Because why else would a young black man be knocking on doors in an all-white community telling people about Jesus? You see, brothers and sisters, she saw Jesus because I stepped out of my comfort zone. Are you willing to step out of yours? People need to see Jesus in our lives. It's time that we wake up. The Lord has a work that he's trying to do in our hearts, and he has a work that he's trying to do through our lives. Are you going to allow people to see Jesus in you?